Hi everyone, and welcome back to episode 10 of Those Who Hope. I'm so happy that you're here. Now, before we start this episode, I'd just like to let you know that we have some trigger warnings for some of the content that we discuss in sharing Tiffany's testimony. We talk about the hard stuff in hopes that if you are struggling, you can know you're not alone. And then we get to the super hopeful part of the story, which I do pray can encourage you and give you hope as you hear how Tiffany's life truly turned around, and how no one is written off from this same breakthrough. This is Tiffany's personal story and not official professional advice. If you are affected by any of these topics, we do encourage you to seek professional help, and I've left some resources that you may like to consider checking out to help you in the podcast description. Trigger warnings for this episode include the following topics: various forms of abuse, including physical, emotional, domestic, sexual, and child abuse, conversations surrounding drugs and alcohol, and conversations surrounding suicide and self-harm. Now, it's time to get kick-started with this episode, where we aim to demonstrate to you a whole heap of real hope, as well as some lovely joyful moments within. This is a podcast for those who hope. Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Those Who Hope. It's episode 10, and today I have a wonderful guest with me. This is my very good friend Tiffany.
Hello.
Oh, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem.
I was telling you earlier, weren't I, that since the beginning of planning this podcast, you were one of the names that's been on there from the beginning, and I actually wrote down things I wanted to ask you even back then, and that must have been like the summer or way before the summer, to be fair. So it's so good to have you on here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
How are you finding the experience so far?
I mean,
the
it's
studio.
different. Yeah, I love the lights.
Water.
Yes, I love it. It's great. The sun,
we're good.
the headphones are a bit weird, but
yeah, getting used to it. You had all your hair nice, and you was like, oh, you've got to put these earphones on.
I had the earrings in as well, specifically, and now
did you?
No. I mean, it's a sacrifice, and I'm here for it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
you could show the camera your earrings if you want, or is it a bit? Oh, there we go. If you're watching, there we go. Well, would you be able to tell everybody? I often start with this, just how we know each other, and it's really cool actually, because it's been quite a few years now, and have a great friendship.
Yeah, so we met through church.
Yes.
So our two churches joined together, and that was really cool. And I feel like from the moment I met you, it was like we just clicked, right?
Yeah.
And we just used to have these like really fun times, and like carpool karaoke.
Yes.
Not that I can sing, but you made up.
If you can speak, you can sing.
Well, I don't really know that. You sung for me, and that was really great. I was there as the cheerleader. But yeah, so we've had like really cool times, and yeah, like so many funny stories. So
yes, yeah. I agree. Like as you said, when we met, I think we were like, oh my goodness, it's a kindred spirit, because we both obviously go to church. We both love Jesus, and we're also both a bit nuts. So like just a little bit. So we would just be so hyper together, and we
could never sit next to each other in church. Like that was just like no, we can't do that.
oh my goodness, like all the acting things we've done at church as well. We had our own like little church theatre company that me and Tiffany and our pastor Pete basically set up. And we wrote a couple of plays, didn't we? For them, and the rehearsals were, always hilarious. So talk about not being able to sit next to each other in church. Try acting together and not laughing. I'm also really excited for you to be on this podcast, because I feel like everyone can be blessed with your dulcet tones of your accent, because your accent is just one of my favourites. So
really? I love it. I don't get that often.
So tell us a bit where you're from. Where are you from?
So if you can't clock from the accent, I'm very posh, and I am from Upminster.
If people from Upminster, then
sorry.
You'll get the joke.
Offended.
Because other people look it up and be like, oh, Upminster's Essex, but that's the posh part.
The posh part. So I'm from actually Harold Hill, so that's the not so posh part. So yeah, I'm from here. I've always kind of lived around in this area, so yeah.
Well, we've got loads to talk about in this episode. 100%. I think it is going to be one of those episodes where we're like, oh my gosh, like how have we come to the end? And we've got loads to talk about. But I did want us to just share a bit about, just warm us up a little bit. Let's just tell a story for everyone, because we often get ourselves into some kind of random situation, don't we? And usually there's a story to tell. So we were like, what story could we tell? And we thought, we'll tell you about the one where my car broke down. That might be a good one to tell. So I'd love to hear this story from Tiffany's eyes.
Okay.
Tiffany's perspective. And it actually ties in with the fact that we talk too much, because basically we killed my car by talking too much, didn't we?
That was actually it.
Yeah,
because you left the lights on, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, out on you. But yeah, so we'd been out, right? And then we'd like...
For hours.
Hours, and then was in the car chatting for like ages. You left the lights on, and then...
Because we were like pulled over, and I was going to take Tiffany to where her car was parked, but we would like, let's just finish our conversation first. And then it was like over an hour or something.
Yeah.
But I left...
Too. Yeah. Don't know.
I think I didn't realise there were like automatic night lights on the outside, but on the inside, so we weren't sitting in the pitch black because it was like Christmas time. I left the light, and it kept coming up on my car saying the battery's going or something.
Yeah,
so
we just kept ignoring it.
We just kept ignoring it. Which in hindsight, why did I do that?
I mean...
and the car wouldn't start. So then what happened?
Then I was like, do you know what? I've been here many times. Don't worry. I know how to jump a car. I've got jump leads in my car, no stress.
Yeah.
So we've gone to my car to get the jump leads. Brought them back, obviously, with my car. And then, but then we even got there and like, I lost my ticket for the, do you remember that we had all that going on?
I think we needed change.
And we only had a card, and then we had to go get money out. Oh, it was so dramatic. Brought my car back round, and then, I'm obviously linking up all the jump leads, and she's like, you sure you know what you're doing? Listen, I was like, I've been here before, I've done it so many times. I was like, I'm like, my car used to break down, my old car used to break down all the time. I was like, I know I'm doing it. And then so I get everything out, I'm like linking it all up. And obviously 2 women in the street trying to jump a car late at night, you're gonna get it all in you. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna get everyone going, you're all right, love, you're all right. Yeah, listen, my feminist kicked in. I was like, I'm fun, I'm actually fun. I mean, it actually become a bit of a ministry. Like if you speak to Char, like the amount of times that we would be out, and then I would see like someone broken down, and I'd be like, jump leads to the rescue, and here I am, and then we start evangelizing them because like we've jumped their car. So it become a bit of a ministry. Anyway, so I'm trying to jump the car and like trying to get it all going, and I was like, it's not working. And I was like, I know everything is right. And then I had to put my pride aside. But anyway, long story short, we had this guy that had come out, and then his girlfriend as well would come out as well.
Yeah,
we had a bit of a show, really. It was all like,
well, because somebody had driven past and was like, if you need a hand, let me know. And we were like, yeah, okay, we'll let you know. And then it was like probably 45 minutes later, we finally gave in, and we're like, so we knocked on that door, but it was a flat, and we didn't know what number they were. So then we knocked on the wrong flat. So then some random guy came out, was like trying to help us. And then after a while of him trying to help us, I think that was him saying, maybe you've done it wrong, maybe something's wrong. Yeah. But then this other guy who's in the same house, but they'd never actually spoken, I don't think, before, came across, and he was like, I've just come back from work, I work for Fords. And I had a Ford car. And it was so good. So then they were becoming friends, like talking to each other, helping. And then one of them went and got their car.
That was it.
To jump mine. Yeah. So after all this time, finally it was working. And then his girlfriend had come down.
And then we started speaking to them guys. And then it was like, we'd really love to pray for you. Is there anything we could pray for you about? And then the girl was pregnant. So anyway, we prayed for her, and then for the guy, I can't remember, something like that. Yeah. And then it was like, I'll see you later, blah blah. And then so it was right before Christmas, and we said we was going to go back, didn't we? To just thank them, and like with some chocolates or whatever. But was it you that got COVID at all? Both of us got COVID. I can't remember.
It was one of those Christmases where
I mean everyone had it. So then you got COVID, so we didn't get to go back straight away. We went back like 3 weeks later. And then we knocked on the door, and I just remember so much so because the guy opened the door and he went, Ford Cougar? And I was like, we prefer Tiffany and Katrina, but
and it's an Echo Sport actually.
It was just so funny.
And we brought like chocolates and a card and one for the other guy, and it was so nice, wasn't it?
So
like, and we got to pray for them, and like I think they really
appreciated it.
I think they really did, and like it was just a wholesome experience. So it was really just like a really natural opportunity to just show some love to people, 100%. And show God's love to them, which was so cool. And that's what I love about you as well, Tiff. You love sharing Jesus with people and you can see how clearly in your life he's made a difference, which makes you want to share him with other people. And I think you've got that boldness to go out and just tell people, because often we can feel like, you never want to invade somebody's privacy or anything like that. But like these natural things come up, and also sometimes people are a lot more open to it than you might think, you know. Like we've done different things on the streets and stuff like that too, and like often people do really appreciate it. There's ways to do it, obviously, where you're not intruding and things like that, but so that I guess brings us on a little bit to, if you could tell us about your testimony, about where God's taken you, and then that will lead us to talking about all the things that's motivated you to do since, because you do so much amazing work and make difference in so many lives. And I know that you had Christians yourself who, before you knew Jesus, who helped you with that. And,
100%.
you know, so many things. So the mic is yours. Take it away.
In the beginning. So I was born into quite a messy situation, as you know. So my dad was like a massive like gangster, and he had spent 40 years of his life in prison. So like half of his life, because he was a lot older, he died at 80, and half his life he's been in prison for like drugs and fraud. It was really crazy. He used to take drugs as well and sell it, and that's how him and my mum met. He was her drug dealer. So yeah, like they don't write that in Disney, do they? So they met, and anyway, my mum was like on drugs and drinking, and he used to beat her. So that was really dramatic as well. They tried for a baby, and then she lost a baby, so the doctor told her she couldn't have any more because of her age as well. But then I came along, here I am. So then I was born, and for like 2 years I was kind of living with my mum and dad in this flat in Barking, but my mum realised that it was really not a good environment, because obviously there was like drug dealers coming in and out and all that jazz. So she was like, okay, I've got to take you and put you somewhere safe. But she couldn't look after me because she was obviously, you know, drinking and whatever. So she gave me to one of my like family members. So I was there for a couple of years, but that didn't like last, because she was going through a divorce. So she was like, I can't really deal with this right now, because there was like a massive court case going on, like with my dad, like trying to get custody of me. So she's like, I can't deal with that. And then so she gave me to my nan's. So I was there from like when I was like 5, I say, until 15. And I was there with my 2 boy cousins, and my older brother, like half brother, was there as well at that time. So I was there from like 5 till 15. And in that time I'd like had like years and years of abuse. So like physical abuse, emotional abuse. Like I was always told that I was like fat and ugly, that I was never going to get anywhere in life, and you know that I should have died at birth. I'm just going to turn out like a drunk like my mum, or a druggie like my dad. So obviously that messes with your head psychologically, as you can imagine. So I grew up really hating myself. Like, you know, I used to just like, just hated who I was. And, you know, just the fact that I actually was alive, like it was really sad. And then I used to see my dad's at the weekends, and then he used to be like, you know, beat me as well. And then no one really knew what the other like one was doing, like the other like party of abuse was doing. It was really weird. And even though I had like social workers in and out of my life, like from really young, like no one clocked anything. So it was really weird. And then till one day, like obviously, I had like sexual abuse as well, like through stuff like when I was like staying at my dad's. So that was always just like, it was all really, really messy, and in and out of court cases, and, you know, having to do statements and all this stuff. I was just like, oh, mate, I just want to be a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was a bit dramatic. Anyway, I stopped seeing my dad when I was like 11, because, there was, again, physical abuse, like started really hamping up, and it was just really, really bad. And then, but then the abuse at home still carried on. And that was really difficult until the point where my like aunt tried to like run me over, which was very traumatic, outside school. So the school was like, right, this is it now, you know, we can't have this anymore. So they basically contacted like social workers and the police, and was like, okay, this is what's happening with this girl, and we need to like get her out. So we had like this whole operation. It was like a film, right? So there was like, you're going to go live with someone else, like another family member. But then what happened was that obviously we couldn't tell them that I was going to leave, because, you know, and they'd go mad. So because I was never really allowed out either when I was at my nan's, because like they didn't want to really know about the abuse, and it was very controlling. So I wasn't really allowed out. It was a really like isolating time. And believe it or not, I was very, very shy in school. So I was really shy. Like obviously I had all this stuff going on in the background, and I, you know, like for me, I was like one of those people where I was like, I've got all this drama going on like at home and here and there. I was getting bullied as well at school. I was like, the last place I wanted to act out was in class. Yeah. So I was like, I need to shut up. Do you know what I mean? And just not be like, you know, seen or anything. So I was
any more drama.
No, I was like, I've just got enough going on. Do you know what I mean? So I was like sitting down and just like being a really good little kid. And no one even knew for so long, like, because obviously usually in school, if there's stuff going on at home, you act out in school, but I was the opposite. So that's really helpful for me now. Like obviously doing what I'm doing.
To look out for that.
Yeah. because I was the complete opposite, and I was so shy, like I wouldn't ever speak, and which is obviously like worlds apart from who I am now. But drama really brought me out as well. Like, so when I started doing drama, like it really helped me to gain confidence and be able to express myself through drama. So anyway, fast forward until I was like 15. Obviously, like I said, the abuse got really bad, and then school helped me to run away and move to my other aunties. And then that was fine for a little while. Between 15 and 17 I was there, but that had a bit of a family breakdown, and like another situation of like abuse happened, which was really difficult because, you know, I wasn't believed, and it was kind of like, oh, you know, very dramatic. And then at this point I just like sat my GCSEs, like just said I'd moved, that by the grace of God I passed, because I don't know how.
Which is, oh my goodness,
yeah.
everything you had going on.
Then what happened was that I was there, and I started going, like, obviously I had like no freedom, like when I was at my nan's. So then when I moved from my nan's to here, I was let out. I was allowed to go do normal things. So, you know, like I never had Dixie chicken until I was like 15. I didn't go ice rink until I was 15 because I was like so isolated. And so when I started having that freedom, that's what I was doing. I was going out, going to cinema or going for food, like with my friends, and it was just felt normal. But I felt like I had so much like time to catch up on, because like people have been doing this for like years, and I wanted to spend time with my friends and So because I was trying to get it all in, like then I started just doing too much, and I was out every night, and then I started hanging out with the wrong people, and then tried smoking for the first time, and then I tried you know, smoking weed for the first time, and then also I started going to college, and started studying law and PE, which was quite ironic because I was smoking weed at that point, so I don't know, like that was a bit weird. But and then I had to drop out of college because this whole abuse thing had happened, and I'd got kicked out, so we had like a major family breakdown. So at that point I was working as well, like I was in college and I was working just like in like chip shops and, you know, like pizza shops, whatever I was doing at the time. And then I got kicked out of where I was living, so I was homeless. And then I had to move into a hostel. So I'm freaking out. I was like, I can't just go to college and study law, like, you know, when I'm here. Like, I just don't know where I'm going to stay for the next like night. Because I was sofa surfing for a little bit, where you're just sleeping on different people's sofas until you can find somewhere. Then I got put into a hostel. And then when I got that, so I thought, I've got to, like, you know, start working because I've got to pay. Like, you know, I don't know how.
How old were you at this point?
17.
17.
Yeah. So, and I was like, I've got to start working like full time now to pay for this. So I started working in a cafe and full time. And then I got put into foster care because I was under 18. So they have like an obligation to house someone under 18. So I got moved into foster care like 3 days before Christmas or something crazy. And that was interesting, going from like having like loads of freedom, living on your own technically, to like then moving in with a random family that you've got kind of obeying all new rules. And obviously my head was a mess, like all these things were going on like in the back of my head, and then all the trauma and stuff that had happened. And so we got on for a bit, and then I don't know, like it just didn't really like work. Do you know what I mean? I feel like she wanted someone who wanted to be, you know, at home every night and just like, you know, being like a proper daughter. And I was like, I'm just a, you know, rebellious teenager at the moment. I just need to go and like let off some steam. Like, so anyway, I went through like 3 like foster care placements in total. So that one broke down because we kept arguing. So I moved somewhere else, and then unfortunately like the foster carers all song like tried to like sexually assault me and another girl at the place, which was really awkward. And then we didn't kind of get believed, but then obviously it got brought out to the social worker, so we all got emergency moved again, and then again it was so like unsettling. So it was really bad. And then obviously people started trying to like cover it up, like the family. It was just really messy. I don't know why I'm laughing, it's not even funny, but it was just really messy. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then we finally obviously got moved, and then at this point I was like, do you know what, like I'm just I'm done, like I can't keep going like in this craziness. And I'd met a guy at that point who I thought was like, you know, the best guy ever, you know, and just like my knight in shining armor. And he was like, oh, why don't you just like come live with me, like, you know, like made me realize or think that this was just the most best option. Do you know what I mean? Because like life was so unsettling, and it felt like it was just not getting any better. And he seemed like, you know, he really cared for me. And so I was like, okay, let me go live with him and his mum. And then so I left foster care, and then I remember they got me to sign this thing to say like, you know, like to leave, and like I'm not refusing any help now, which I mean my head was a mess, like it was like the worst thing, because I was like, I don't know what I'm signing. And but then after that, like that whole abuse thing got swept under the carpet. Like they just didn't
with
like
the foster carers.
Yeah, they didn't like do anything with it. It was actually really sad.
Disgusting, isn't it?
It was really sad. It was only until like a couple of years later that I got a phone call from like the police saying, oh, have you ever lived at so and so's house, because we've got a claim from one of his like other placement people that there's been an assault there, like a sexual assault. And I was like, are you joking? Like, if you listened to me like 3 years ago, this wouldn't have happened. Anyway, so that went to court.
You should have already had a case on it.
I know. It was really frustrating, but I think because I left foster care, it was kind of like they just had that opportunity to kind of just, sweep it under the carpet. But he did end up going to court. I don't know what ended up happening, but he ended up going to court, which was, even that was like, something from that. So then anyway, I moved in with this guy thinking, I was like, oh, great, this is cool. And then it quickly did not turn cool. It was really, really bad. Like it turned out that he was like really abusive, like verbally and physically. He started beating me up all the time and like really horrific, like, things like, spitting in my face, like putting on my hair, like, punching me, kicking me, dragging me through the street. Like it was so, so bad. Like, and it turns out that he was actually a heroin addict. Like I didn't know this because we used to smoke weed together, and so I thought, oh, like, that was the kind of drugs that he was on, but it turned out that he was actually on heroin. I was like, okay. Didn't see that because he didn't look like that kind of person. He was a bigger guy, and he just didn't look like that. So it got really bad, but at that point I felt like I had no one. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like I didn't really know where to turn. Like I'd been cut off from the support through the social workers and the care system. I'd had no family really, and then because all that had broken down, and my friends are everyone's just off doing their own things. It's college, and I remember just thinking, like, oh my gosh, like life is just so crazy. Like he took my phone, he made me stop working. Like I had like zero life. Like so the only time I could go out was when I was like going out and trying to help him make money, like stealing for him or whatever, and getting in trouble with the police. And it was just like getting really dramatic. And I remember even the police saying to me, like, we know what you're doing and we know who you're like with, like, you just tell us, and give up his name. And I was like, I can't do that because then I'm gonna get in trouble. Like, and I remember he was cheating on me. He was like taking my money that I'd had and hitting me. And I remember he said this to me. He was like, look, well, there's the door, like, but where are you gonna go? Like, you've got nowhere to go. And I was like, no, I ain't, innit? Like, it's actually it was actually like mad. And I remember hitting like rock bottom at that point. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because I was like self-harming and like things were just like so, it was just so intense. And I remember like trying to commit suicide, and I was just like, I'm just so done. Like I can't live this life anymore. I'm 17, like, my friends are literally at college and like having like the best time of their life, like, and I'm here like just wanting to die. And I remember like planning this thing and like, just about to, then basically he walked back in, like, because he'd forgot his wallet, and it just kind of snapped me out of this. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Like, I can't, like, it was just like a wake up call. And I really believe, even at that point, because I didn't even know God, like, but I really feel like God had his hand on me, because if he hadn't walked back in at that point, like, I just genuinely wouldn't be here. Do you know what I mean? So it was just, I needed that wake up call, because I was like, I just don't know what I'm doing with myself. So anyway, I had a plan in my head. I was like, right, I'm going to approach the council and say, like, look, like, you need to help me because I'm in this domestic violence relationship, like, da-da-da.
So that was that the moment, like, when when he came back in, it just prompted you to be like, actually, there might be another way out of this other than ending my life.
Because I think, in that headspace, like, I probably didn't want to actually die. Like, I just wanted this situation to die.
Yes.
And I feel like, a lot of people have probably been in that thing. It's like, actually, I don't want to leave this earth, but I can't bear this situation that I'm in, and this is the only way I feel like it can end. But when he walked back in, I was like, I don't know, maybe it was just like a bit of a light switch, like, what am I doing? Like, oh my days, like, this could have literally just happened if he hadn't come back. So I was like, okay, let me see if there is like, another way. So then I approached the council, and then that was a bit of a thing because they didn't put me in somewhere that night, and then they had to like send me back, like, because it was like, they gave me like a women's refuge number, but they wouldn't take me because I was 17. Gosh. So it was all really messy. So then I had to go back after like him knowing that I was going to leave. So then it took me ages to like leave again, because obviously to get the courage to leave, and it was so messy. And then I remember thinking, I've got to get now the courage and the confidence and the plan, because he's going to be on me now. Do you know what I mean? Like, watching me 24/7 to think, am I going to leave again? I had to get the courage to like leave again. So anyway, I did. And then like, I remember just grabbing like as much as I could one morning, and then just go in and like running through, like, so I was in Dagenham, running through Dagenham, and then just like going to the council and was like, listen, I need you like to help me because I have nowhere else to go. And anyway, like they finally did put me into a safe house that night, and it was like a month before my 18th birthday, and I was like, oh, mate, like, what is life? Like, you know, I had like just 2-3 bags of clothes, like, or lost all my stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, cause I didn't want to take everything there. Like, I couldn't take everything, and I'd like moved around so much. I was just like, I feel like I'm starting again. Like, I just don't even know. Like, I really hit rock bottom at that point. And I was just like, all the trauma and all the madness from everything. And then I just started going out. Like, as soon as I turned 18, I just started going out, and I was just taking drugs, like, just left, right, and centre. I just could not process the pain. I couldn't get around the trauma, and I just went on a mad one, really. I just went on a mad one, and I just like out all the time, whatever. And then it was at the point where I just didn't care about life. Like, people offer me something, I wouldn't even ask what it was. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't care. Like, if it gets me high, great. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't touch anything like heroin, but pretty much everything else, because I was at that point where it's like nothing else could feel worse than the pain that I feel at this moment. So if that can get out of my head, then great. And I'll be out like for days on end, like just, you know, raves and after parties and whatever. And then I connected with like one of my old friends, and we I don't know why, I don't know how this all happened, but we got in contact with my dad, and we said to, like, we was going to go and see him, like, around Christmas. And it was the first ever time that I spent Christmas with my dad. And obviously at this point I was like rock bottom. It was like really, really low. And then we went to my dad's, and we'd like made Christmas dinner and stuff for him. And because I think maybe within me, like, I still wanted that relationship with him, but obviously didn't really know how to. So we went back and we'd spoken, because the usual kind of pattern would be like we'd connect, you know, and we'd be fine, but then something would happen, like I'd upset him in some minor way, and he would fly off the roof. Like, he'd either, you know, go crazy physically or go crazy verbally, and this is exactly what happened at this point. So he was cooking Christmas dinner, and my friend was like, oh, why don't you go and chill, like go sleep for a bit, because I was really tired. And then so I was sleeping on the sofa whilst my friend was finishing dinner, and he come like to the sofa, and he pulled like the blanket off of me, and he was like, get up, you beep, 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 beep. You know, I was just like, I thought he was joking. And then I was like, all right. And then, anyway, like, I got up and I started walking, and then literally within like seconds, like, I turned around, his hands around my neck, like he was just trying to strangle me. And I was like, well, that escalated. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just trying to sleep. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, okay. And then I was like, I just couldn't really get my head around what's going on, because obviously you're in the moment, you're just trying to fight off, you know, this massive guy who's like trying to kill you, who is actually your dad. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, I finally pushed him off me, and then I've just run out the flat, and I was just sitting on this bench and just crying, and I was just like, oh my days, like, what's going on with the world? And then anyway, this guy just walked past, and basically he asked if I was okay, and I said, yeah, I'm fine. He's like, you sure? I was like, yes, like, I'm fine, like, leave me alone. And then he walked away, and I remember literally just seeing him out of the corner of my eye, like, just look up to the sky and being like, like, you know, and then walk back. And I was thinking, oh, is this guy's brave, like, do you know what I mean? I've already told you, I don't want to talk. And he's walked back again. Anyway, he came back and he was like, look, I really feel like God wanted me to come back and tell you that he loves you. And I was like, are you sure? And so anyway, it's like this whole conversation around like God and how God's got a plan for my life. And even though he had zero idea about the situation in my life, like, he was like kind of prophesying, because he was like, you know, I had a friend who was on drugs, and, you know, this is how God changed their life. And I had a friend who was abused, and then this is how God changed their life. And I was like thinking, has this guy been following me? And like, what's going on? Can he see into my soul? Like, you know, like, I don't know if you ever got that, like, with Christians, because like, obviously I didn't come from that life at all, so I didn't want to look people in the eye in case I could see inside and see what I'd like, you know, what happened. So anyway, I was just like, okay. Anyway, I was telling him about all this stuff, and he invited me to his church, and I was just a bit like, all right, well, you know, like, I might as well just go along. And that was between Christmas and New Year. So I went once or twice, but it was a very interesting church. Like, I'd never experienced church. So it just wasn't it wasn't for me. So I didn't go back. But then what happened is that I'd heard about something called the healing rooms. So I was like, okay, let me just see if I can go along to that. And
can you remember how you heard about that?
I think I'm a bit out there. Do you know what I mean? If I hear something, like, I'll just be like, yeah, let me go try it. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd heard something, like, I don't know if it was like at that church or something, like someone had said it. So I'd overheard a conversation. It's not even like said it to me. So I'd overheard a conversation. And I was like thinking, oh, let me just search that up. So like I did. And it was this thing in Leytonstone. It was above a Christian bookshop. And basically they just go in and you go in, they pray for you and, you know, they prophesy over you. And just speak to you about whatever you want to speak about. So I was like, okay, cool. So I started going along to that. And then in between this time, like obviously after Christmas, the landlord of the house that I was staying at, which was the safe house, like they wanted to take it back. So I was going to be homeless again after Christmas, but I was 18 now, and I was like, oh my days, where do I go? So I had to sofa surf for a little bit, but then I moved back into the hostel, and I was in there for ages this time. And then I started... things started like to shift and change though after that, because I started working again, and you know things were like started to just take shape a little bit, and obviously I'd like started going to this healing rooms thing, and I'd go every Wednesday. I'd go up there and on the train, and I'd come away and I'd feel so peaceful, and I was just like, wow, like this is so nice. And then you know I'd feel like that for the evening, and then the next day I'd feel like, you know, really terrible again.
And at the healing rooms, you'd go there and they would pray for you.
Yeah. So
and maybe share if God was telling them something to share.
Yeah, so like the prophesy of you, which is just like hearing from God for you, like this is what I feel like God's saying to you. So it could be a verse or a picture or a song or whatever. And they were like, and every time it was so on point. I was like, "Raw, like, how do you know this about me? Like, how do you know this about me?" And they were like, "No, this is God. Like, God knows exactly where you're at right now." And da da da. And I was like, you know, you're just like mad suspicious because you're like, no, like, you know, you want to believe it, but you just feel like something must be like, you know, there must be a catch here. But I remember I always used to just feel so peaceful, and that's why I kept going. I was like, I'd never felt peace like it. I was like, no drug could give me this. So I was like, always like loving going there. But then obviously the feeling will go, and then Thursday morning will come and it'll be back to normal. And but yeah, so I was in the hostel. But then I started working again, and then I moved into the flat that I'm living in now, actually. Like at 19, so like just before my 19th birthday, and I've been there for all this time. I'm not gonna say how old I am because you know.
Keep the people guessing.
So I've been in there for a while, and I like in between 18 and 21, it felt like my time where I was like searching. So it was like I was going to this healing rooms thing, and you know my life was starting to get a bit better in terms of like I started working, moved into a flat, and I got a car, and you know things were like, you know, I took my driving lessons, did all that, you know, I was doing all that myself as well. Like, you know, I was just like I was working 3 jobs at that point. I was just trying to I was get myself back on my feet, and I was like, okay, cool, things are getting okay. So on the surface, like on paper, I'm like 19, I've got my own flat, I've got my own car, I'm working in a really good job, like I was an estate agent, and I was on paper, I look like I'm smashing it, but you know, in my mind, I was like melted. Do you know what I mean? It was really like
there's so much stuff that like I can't even imagine like when you've been through all of that where you even begin to unpack it all, you know?
And I kind of didn't. So I was just hiding behind drugs, and like I was still going out on the weekends. I was working and stuff, but I was still taking drugs like quite heavily. So I was kind of leading this double life. So like 18 to 21, I was just still in that space where I was like doing one thing and doing another. And I got into another relationship, and I started going to this church. And then I went to the church for a little bit in the evenings, so I didn't have to get up, you know, because like that was a myth. And then so I started going in the evenings, and then I got into a relationship, and I was like, oh, you know, that takes precedent. So it wasn't physically abusive, but it was quite controlling and manipulative and everything. So I was there for like a year, and then I came out of that, and again I felt like I'd taken a massive step back. I was like really broken, and I was on antidepressants, and I was just like, oh, I literally came out of that space, and I was like, I was with my friend, and it was like, you know, oh, we should start going out again. And because when I was in that relationship, I wasn't going out. I was still taking drugs, but I wasn't taking drugs as much. And then obviously I was like, I didn't want to get back into that space where I was going out crazily again and like partying, and because I was like, do you know what? Like, I know what that looks like. And I was like, it's just a mess. But we started going out a bit, but then I sat there and thought to myself, I was like, right, Tiff, I had a little conversation with myself in the mirror. And I was just like, the only time you genuinely felt happy and at peace was when you was at that church thing. So I was like, listen, right, let's just try this God thing, right? You know, like, let's just try it for real. Like, let's just go all in. Like, and if you don't like it, you know, that's it. You ain't sold your soul. Do you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
don't sign nothing. Yeah. I was literally having this conversation. I swear down. I was having this conversation with myself in the mirror. I was just like, just don't sign nothing. Yeah.
Don't sign nothing.
Like, I don't know. I don't know what things I'm signing up to. Do you know what I mean? I was just signing a membership thing, or like, you know, sign my whole life away to a church, because I didn't really know what church is at that point.
Yeah.
So it was quite funny, and then I was like, right, let me just try this God thing. Like, I'm fully commit, and if I don't like it, boom, I can just go back to my normal life, no problem. At least I knew what I was getting in my normal life. So anyway, that was like 2015, like December 2015, and I went out that New Year's Eve, and that was like the last time I took drugs. And so that was like, I don't know, like 8 years ago now. So that was crazy. So it was the last time I took drugs. And then from January, like I just started going to church. I was like, when I went all in, I went all in. I was like at every service, like they had a midweek service, they had a prayer thing, they had a Bible. So I was at like 5 nights a week, you know. It was like, you know what church is like.
Yeah.
It was like fully in. And I was like, this is it. And what had happened is that I'd connected to Charlotte through someone at the healing room. So someone had told me, oh, like if you're in Romford, like you can go to this young adults group. So I'd gone to that previous, and that's where I met Charlotte, and she invited me to obviously what was HCF, but it's now Pulse. So then I contacted her at this time. So I was kind of going to 2 services. I was going to one in the morning and one in the evening. And
So
I was
Pulse is the one that we go to now, which was HCF.
HCF, yeah. So, and now it's called Pulse. And so I was going to both, and then so I was doing all this stuff, and then within literally like 4 months, it was like I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped taking drugs, and I was like, oh my days, my whole life just did a 180, and I was like, is this what I've been looking for? Like, because I was like, this is crazy. Like, I've never felt like this. Like, no drug could ever give me this peace or this love or this comfort or just anything that I'm feeling right now. And I was like, wow. Like, and I was like, right, this is it. That's what I've been looking for. So by that July, I got baptized, and I was like, right, this is like, you know, what I want to do now. Obviously, it was so weird to my friends because they're like, you're like just like, you know, just in the club, like, you know what I mean?
Or 180.
Yeah, not 360.
Not 360. It was a complete 180.
180. So it was kind of like, yeah, like Tiff, like, right, like 1 minute you're doing this, and now you're like telling me about Jesus, like, because obviously, like, I'd always see people like, you know, on the street or whatever, like, or hang, you know, and then they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm a Christian now. Like, I'm doing this. And start talking about Jesus. They're like, what? Like, you know, and they're just so shocked. And then they're like, no, this is not Tim. Like, this is not Tim. Oh, no, I swear down, like, God changed my life, innit? Yeah. And it's just like, it's just so funny because they're like, raw, like, you know, no, that's not you. Like, you know, and there's like, I remember one person said, like, saying, if you're telling me that, it must be true. And I was just like, I'm telling you that. Because people just knew, like, you know, what I used to be like. I was just crazy. And so, yeah, obviously got baptized in the July. And then I started helping at the youth club on a Friday night just as a volunteer, like at Pulse, which was HCF. And like I was doing that for like a year. And then I got offered like doing a full-time job there. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, like, but whatever. So then I started working there like full-time. And that was like, oh my days, like 6 years ago. Yeah, that's like 6 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, and then I've been doing that ever since. And obviously in that time, like, God has healed so much. Like, God has restored so much. God has surrounded me with a family, like, that I could only dream of, like, through church and through, like, people like you and, like, Shar and, like, do you know what I mean? Like, just so many people, like, I don't want to not mention names on here, but, like, everyone, do you know what I mean? Like, that I have, like, amazing church family and, you know, just amazing love and compassion and healing, you know, and just for God to just show me, like, actually, no, there was a plan on your life, like, from so many years, like, but you finally just stepped into it. So, yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much for sharing this. That's and okay. Do you know what, like, what I love about this, your story too, for the opportunity to share your story here is that this podcast is called Those Who Hope, you know, and I always say that when I start this podcast, I didn't want it to be like a wishy-washy thing of like, oh yeah, we hope in God and oh, it's really nice. Like, it's really nice, but it's not like, oh yeah, it's really cute and lovely. It's like, no, the reason we have hope is because we follow a God who has literally transformed our lives, you know, literally 180, not 360 or 180. And like, literally, you could go from being in the lowest place to your life just being redeemed. And obviously I didn't know you during that time. And like, so even to hear it, you are describing a different person, you know, because like the person I know is completely transformed. Like, and I just see the fruits of that. And the thing is, it's like, it's just amazing because like God has given you such hope. And because even when you were telling your story, and I'm sure you could say this too, like, you know, for the people listening, or even for me, you know, it's so heartbreaking to hear that that's something you had to go through. And I know that that's something you went through, and I know that more than anyone, God's heart breaks for you, you know, that happened. And it actually, you telling that story, it can sound so hopeless, but the story did not end there, because we have hope. We are those who hope in the Lord. And as it says here, if anyone who's listening, I've got this poster next to me, Isaiah 40:31 in the Bible, and it says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." And you hoped in the Lord, and your strength was renewed, and you're soaring, you know, on wings like eagles. And there's not a wishy-washy cute little thing. It's like a transformation. It's a transformative thing that literally saved your life, you know.
100%.
And you know, and I was looking back, even I've been doing some edits for like short reels for the podcast and stuff, and I was listening back to one that I did with my friend Anna, and we shared the same thing, that God literally saved her life. She said, I don't think I'd be here today if it wasn't for God. And I'm the same with my story too, and it's just incredible, because it's like, this is why we want to share this with other people, because you know, as you said, that people would say to you, what, you're a Christian, what, this stuff can be for you, you know. And it can be for anyone, literally anyone. Like, nobody is written off. No one's written off. And that's why the word hope is so important to me, because no one's written off. So I'm looking at the camera there. You're not written off.
You're not written off.
Yeah, and it's just incredible to hear. And obviously everything that God has done in like the last 8 years and the last 6 years since you've been working for the church and for the community, because you're the youth and community worker. Is that what your title would be?
I mean, on paper. Like.
On paper, yeah, but probably just a bit of everything, like do whatever God's calling you to at the time. But I'd love if you could share a little bit about that, because I think your experiences have given you such a heart for young people, and for people that might be written off in the eyes of other people, you know, and we really firmly believe that no one is, and that's not 100%. How God sees anybody. He doesn't see anybody as too far gone, you know. So I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about that journey, and also maybe when you started that job, what your dream was for, you know, for using the job. And we spoken about this a few times, about how actually it's been a progression and like a kind of slow moving thing 100%. Where suddenly you're looking at what's going on right now with what you're doing with work, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been wanting for the last 8 years, you know. And God's timing is perfect, and he takes us on that journey. Literally. But it's amazing. So please do share.
So when I used to, like, I say to people, like, I should be dead or in prison. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. Like, I was obviously, like I said before, obviously mad mental health stuff, and, you know, suicidal stuff, but then also like getting in trouble with the police, selling drugs, all that kind of stuff. And I remember people would say to me, like, you know, like, you're just going to be a statistic. Like, and as well when you look at my family, like, you know, just people. And, you know, when you look at my family as well, bless them, you know, on paper, you know, statistically, I should not be here. Like, there's abuse and you know, like addiction and all this running through my family line for years and years and years. So obviously the first Christian in my family, like, to break that, which is like the most amazing blessing to be able to be in that position. A phrase that I come up with this mentoring day that I do in school. And it's no matter how you start in life, you can always finish well. So it's wrote in the calf as well. We put it on the little chalkboard, because it's literally a summary of my life. Like, no matter how you start in life, you can always finish well, because I should not be here, you know. So we just thank God that I am. And it's not all sunshine and roses since, you know, I've become a Christian. There is challenges, of course there is. And, you know, you get a whole new lot of like challenges when you get saved. But also you have someone that you've got God now, you know, on your side, like, and you're able to work through things, you know, to get healed from things and process things in a completely different way. So obviously, like, with the stuff that I'm doing now, so I love working with young people. Started working for the church like 6 years ago, and even since I got saved, like, I just had this burning desire. I was like, right, I need to help young people, because I wanted to give hope to young people, like I needed back then, because, you know, I just felt so hopeless. So I had this like dream for years and years, like work with young people who are marginalised, and, you know, wanted to have like a youth centre and, like, you know, help loads of people, you know, and help them to know about Jesus and the person that's transformed my life. And I was, at that point, I was working like as an estate agent and like as a, you know, then I was doing like finance and admin and stuff like that. So
can we do a really little aside, and can you tell the story about the law thing? Because I love that story.
Oh my days. So when
I think what I love about this podcast too is when I talk to people and talking about the journey that they're on with God and the work they're doing for God, because we see everything we do as, you know, it's for the kingdom, it's for God's, you know, love to be shown to people. And it's just amazing when you see the timeline and the tapestry of how things work out. And like at that point, obviously you didn't know what you was going to be doing now, but what did you think you might have been doing at that point?
So at one point I wanted to study law, which was quite funny considering the life I was living. So I don't know what kind of like thing in my head was going on. Like I was like taking drugs, selling drugs, but here I am wanting to be a barrister. So you know, and I wanted to be a barrister because I wanted to stand up for children's rights. Like that was my whole like idea behind it. So I did an apprenticeship. So I was like 18. This is when I just started sorting my life out. I got or 19. I just moved into the flat and blah blah blah. And I did or just before anyway, I started doing an apprenticeship in a law firm. And I remember like applying for it, and I was like thinking, oh, do you know what, like I had like obviously minimal GCSEs and stuff. I dropped out of college, and then I remember just literally thinking, oh, should I even bother applying for it, or, you know, like should I not? And then I remembered like, do you know what, if Elle Woods from, you know, Legally Blonde can, then so can I, because I was blonde at the time. And I was like, do you know what, I think I said that in the interview. That was it, yeah. You did. That was it, yeah. Because he goes, so what made you wanted to, you know, do this? And I was just like, well, you know, I've always had an interest in law because, you know, I really want to stand up for children's rights. I want to be a barrister and da-da-da. Because it's part of my story. Like, I really feel like I'd want to help young people and da-da-da. And I was like, and plus, you know, I was watching Legally Blonde and I thought, if she can, so can I.
That's the kind of spirit we need.
I mean, it clearly worked because I got the job. Do you know what I mean? And so I was working on Oxford Street, do you know what I mean? Like 18, 19, do you know what I mean? Like popping up there, like in a law firm. So I was like, I mean, I've got the gift of the gab, do you know what I mean? So I ain't got it on the paper, I ain't got the qualifications, but I could talk my way into a few things. So
that's amazing.
So yeah, that was that. I've done like so many jobs, like I'm not even joking. Like I've done like mad, like crazy jobs, and just to kind of get to the point where I am now. So yeah, so but obviously I was at this point, like when I got saved, I was like an estate agent, and then I started doing admin, and then but I had this just passion to like want to work with young people, and obviously to have like a youth centre and all this stuff. But I was obviously working at the church voluntarily, doing the youth club, and then when I got given the full-time position as the youth and community worker, and I was like, okay, cool, but it was like a blank sheet of paper because they'd not had one before, so they'd not had the youth worker, so it was kind of like starting from scratch, and I had to build everything up from like nothing. And I was like, all right, cool. And then it was great in one aspect, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just winging it, do you know what I mean? Like still sometimes now I feel like I'm winging it. You know, I was like, I just don't really know what I'm doing. But anyway, like I did a course like in you know, like youth work course, and just trying to get like my knowledge built up, and obviously still always had this dream to work with young people in gangs and marginalised young people, those on drugs, those who are just really like from messy home lives. And but at that point I was like anything but working with those kids. Like, so I was working with church kids, was doing like fun days and at the church, doing like Christmas fairs with like Christmas plays, like, you know, you're saying, like for years, and it was great. Like I loved that, like I really did, but I always had that
fire
passion
in your belly. Yeah, like.
And I was like, what do I do with this, God? Like, and he was like, just wait, I don't want to wait. Like, you know, it's just like, I want it now. But thank God he didn't give it to me back then, because I didn't know what, like, I would not have been able to do it because I was not in the rap.
That's
you know.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard you say that, but that is interesting, because I obviously saw that journey of you wanting it to happen. And of course, God was using you. Every aspect of youth work is important and valuable, but that's cool.
But that's the thing, I just didn't have the confidence back then. And then it's only been like the last 2 years, so I was like spent 4 years like just having this vision and like sitting on it. But even before that, like having the vision, but and you're in the area, it's like you're in the room, you're just not on the right seat. Do you know what I mean? And like not even being on that right seat for such a lot, like 4 years time. So and obviously in between that was COVID, and I was like become a video editor during COVID. And I was like, what am I doing? I was like, God, I want to work with gangs, and now I'm just editing videos. I don't get it. But thank God I waited it out. anyway, so last 2 years, like we've been running like youth clubs in a cafe in Romford. And we have literally attracted like so many marginalised young people that have come from, I wanted messy homes, but these are, you know, next level. Do you know what I mean? Like crazy messy homes, like brokenness, pain, abuse, addiction. And I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Because I'm like, I can just share Jesus with them. And, you know, I like the fact that I get it. Like, because there were so many people when I was younger, when they'd come to me and I'd be like, you just don't get it. Like, you don't, like, you've read my file and you think you know me. Like, you don't know me. And I like to be the person that I needed when I was there, like their age. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I'm here for you. And I'm like, look, this is what God did in my life. He can do it for you. So we pray for the kids and they get healed. Like, and, you know, like we share Jesus with them. We prophesy over them.
And they've ended up, you know, they were like, one got healed and then prayed for his mates. And
literally, like we're teaching them prayer and we're teaching them what it is, because it's simple faith to them, because they've got no theology, they've got no background. So I'm like, listen, like, he's like, oh, you fixed my knee. How did you fix my knee? I was like, bruv, Jesus fixed your knee, it ain't me. Like, Jesus fixed your knee. He's like, oh, can I pray and get someone else's knee fixed? I was like, yeah. And I was like, just pray in the name of Jesus. And he prayed, and then he got, you know, the other person got healed, and then he started praying for other things, and you know, all these things would happen. He said he prayed for his dad and he got healed. Wow. And I was just like, this is amazing. Right, I'm going to play for £1 million. I'm like, all right, you know, you can. I'm not stopping you. But so we just had like so many amazing stories with these young people that we are just giving them hope. We're giving them another vision to their life. Like, okay, your life was on this trajectory for such a long time, and it was going one way, and you know, everyone around you was going the same direction. But actually, there's an interjection now. Like, you can go a different way. Like, you don't have to go down that road. Like, you can finish well. Like, you can get off this train and redirect. So, that's what they're for. So,
and it's amazing. And obviously, like, it's flourishing so much, and it's not all about numbers. And we always say that in church too, isn't it? We become thingy about numbers. But there are a lot of people attending events, attending the youth stuff that you're doing, and on a weekly basis too, and it's just amazing. And also I think it would just be really encouraging too, because to tell people about, I think, was it before, I know you were doing a youth group before COVID, like a church youth group, and then you started the stuff at the CAF, was it but after COVID, but like, and it didn't, and then it kind of got postponed because it didn't quite kick off at that time. So if you could tell us a bit about that too, because I think that would just encourage people that, you know, set off with something that they feel God's calling them to, but it doesn't always all, you know, click together straight away.
Exactly. So obviously I'd been doing the youth club at a church since like I kind of like that first year after I got saved, and I've been running that from like 2016 to 2018, like 2 and a bit years in total. Every Friday night, you know, me and Teresa will be there and a couple of others, and it was great. We got like 1-2 people from the community, and I'm still in touch with them now actually, which is really cool. But the maximum we ever had was like 4. You know, but we came with the same energy every Friday night, 7:30 till 9. Like, you know, we had it, and we did cooking classes. We did, you know, talks about identity. We talked about everything, but it just never really kicked off. And then everyone kind of turned 18, or you know, there was coming up to that point. I was like, we have no new people coming in, so I was like, oh, what are we gonna do? Like, we can't just, you know, we can't run it with no one. Do you know what I mean? So we had to stop it, and it was so sad, because it was like, oh God, but I know you've given me this dream, like to have a youth club and a youth centre and to reach out to young people. So anyway, but I had to lay it down. I was doing other stuff as well. I was in schools and whatever, but I laid it down. And then when we started working in Romford, like as a church, I started this youth drop-in there. So I changed it slightly. It wasn't a club thing in the evening, but it was like an after-school drop-in. And I really felt so strongly that this is what God wanted, right? I had the whole vision for it, blah, blah, blah. So I started it in the September, and I had a lot of backlash in leading up to it anyway. A lot of people telling me it's not going to work. You know, you can't do this, this and this because of X, Y, Z. But I still wanted to do it anyway, because I was like, no, God's told me to do it, I'm going to do it. It's like, yeah. So anyway, I did it. And then, it flopped. So that was fun. It was like, I just didn't get it. I was just so confused. So I did it for like 3 months, and like 1 person come. Like the maximum we had was like 2. I was like, this is even worse than the last one. I don't know what's going on. Like, we're going backwards, not forwards. And I was just like, okay. So by the end of like the December or whatever, I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to shut it down. And I was just like, and I went back to God and I was upset. I was like, God, like, I'm not being funny, yeah? I thought this is what you wanted. I was like, I'm just trying to do, like, you know, what you told me to do. And then I really felt like I say, wait. And I was like, oh, you love that word, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like, you love that word. But anyway, so I did. And then I really felt like strongly to restart it in the June of that year, like the next year. And I'm not going to lie, I did not come with high expectations. I was a bit like, you know, all right, I'm just going to do it. And, you know, like, it's probably not going to work, but at least I can say I've done it. Like, do you know what I mean? I literally came with that energy because I was just like, I was so disappointed because there'd been so many other things as well in the past that we were trying to, like, join with other youth clubs and other churches. And everything I was trying to do just felt like block. And I was just like, what is going on? Do you know what I mean? I was just like so confused. But then anyway, restarted it in June and it just took off. So, you know, like, it just built up every week, and we'd have like these marginalised young people that we call exclusives, you know, and we get them every week, and we've seen them actually every day. But then we get like school kids that come, like from mixes of faith, mixes of backgrounds, and it's just like mixes of young people. And I'm just like, right, like we're all in the same place, and they're all hearing about Jesus. So it's really cool, and it's like now we can get anywhere between like, you know, 40 and 60 on a weekly basis, which is, again, we're not here to focus on the numbers, but we can see just the difference, like, but the same energy that was there on the Friday night from 7 till 9, you know, it's the same energy here. And it's like, it is that consistency and not giving up, and it is the right time in, you know, like, I always use this analogy. It's like, if you eat fruit out of season, it's bitter, it's horrible. But if you eat fruit in season, it's beautiful, it's sweet. And it's like, it's the right fruit in the right season. So,
gosh, I like that. Did you come up with that?
Yeah, you can have it. Go on, yeah.
Do you know what? I mean, this is so silly, but I keep really missing strawberries because my mum won't get them at the moment because she's like, it's not in season.
Exactly. That's the analogy.
But yeah, I like that. That resonates with me on a personal level.
I'm so glad. We do ministry together. Like, we just encourage each other, right? We don't worry about the camera. No, I'm glad.
Oh, no, I love that. And gosh, it's just amazing. And do you know what is also amazing? I've been trying to encourage a friend of mine recently because she's a youth leader at her church. And she just said, I'm just feeling so discouraged at the moment. I actually said to her, I'd love if you could speak to my friend at some point. Yeah. But now she's going to get to listen to this podcast, and it's great. And it's just great how God works because, and she also said that Henry spoke. So I did an interview with my friend Henry on this podcast, and he spoke about how this encouraged my friend too, and hopefully it encourages other people. He spoke about how part of his journey to coming to know God was that his neighbours were Christians and they used to take him to a youth group. And you just really don't know the impact that you're having on people. Like, we've spoken about this before, when we go back all the way back in your story to that guy you met when you were sitting on the bench that Christmas day, who walked away and then came back, and he felt that God, he strongly felt that God wanted to speak to you. And I think you saw him a couple of times at church. You went to church with him since, but he hasn't seen what's happened since. He doesn't know. And like, we've spoken about this before, that we call it planting seeds, don't we? You plant seeds telling people about God, and you just don't know what fruit is going to come out of that. Like, we trust it into God's hands, you know, but how amazing, like, one day you're going to meet him, whether it's here or in heaven, and you're going to get to tell him, and the same other people that have seen you along your journey. And it's just absolutely incredible, and also gives us such hope for people who are still on that journey, you know, haven't quite found God yet, but that no one is too far gone, as you said. And all those young people you're working with, all that they're getting to see about the love of God, and foundations are being laid down, you know, because it's heartbreaking when you think of the trauma people have gone through, and the things you've gone through, and but that nothing is too much for God to be able to say, come into my arms and let me take care of you. And as you said, like, becoming a Christian, it doesn't mean it all gets easier straight away. It doesn't mean that there's still been things that you need to unpack and things like that. 100%. But doing it with God, and doing it with everything God's taught you. And as we believe too, that like God says he sent his Holy Spirit to come and dwell in our hearts. So when we give our lives to Jesus, we've literally got God living within us that transforms us from the inside out. Because I think for someone who's maybe doesn't know God, they might think, oh yeah, well, your life got good because you started hanging around nice people, and that's very nice. And like, oh, you started like having a nice job, that's very nice. But that's not what transformed you. It all helps edify us. But what transformed you was this inside out transformation 100%. That was done by Jesus's work at the cross and the Holy Spirit, you know? And so I suppose, what would you say to encourage someone, whether it's a young person listening to this who can resonate with your story, or it's somebody else in a different situation, and you know, like it could be anything, and to God, whatever situation it is, it all matters, because I think people can also play top trumps with things, and they can go, oh, I've got nothing to like say now, because you know, or like people can disregard what they're going through, but God doesn't disregard any of us. And so what would you say to just encourage someone of that hope of, you know, even somebody who's in that place where you were, where you thought, I can't see a way out of this. I don't actually, if I look deep inside, I don't want to die, but I just don't see a way forward. I don't see another option. Like, I know that's a big thing, but what would you kind of say to encourage someone?
Well, there's this phrase that like one of my like spiritual nans would say to me before she passed away, bless her. And she would say this phrase, and it was, God will take the rubbish in our life, transform it, and use it as perfume in someone else's. And I just love it, because I feel like that just sums it up, because it's like, actually nothing is wasted. Like none of my story is wasted. Like every single part of my story, and the stuff that I've not even gone into today, but every single part of my story, I've encountered a young person that has gone through the same. So I can speak directly into it from a place of understanding and compassion. It doesn't mean that because you haven't been, oh hello, I knew that was going to happen at some point. All because you've not been through that situation doesn't mean that you can't speak into someone else's life who are in that. That's not what I'm saying. But I just feel like for me, like God has used that to help me have some next level understanding for what they're going through and empathy. And it's like nothing is wasted. Like, you know, you might be in the most dire situation, whether you're walking with God or you're not. And it's like if you allow God to use that rubbish and make it perfume in someone else's life, like you will see the most beautiful fruit from it. And you know, it takes a great deal of intentionality and vulnerability, and I had to go through some stuff, and you know, I had to like really get help with some of this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like I couldn't process this trauma, and you know, there's still things that pop up now and I'm working on, and like you know, like obviously I was a mess before, but you know, like I'm stable now, but there's always something, you know, and even as a Christian, there's other things that happen. It's like, God, I don't understand that. And it's okay to have questions. It's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like we
God
need
wants
to
us to go to him with those questions.
100%. There's no point trying to hide it. So, to just like, God will always, you know, God will never waste anything. He'll use everything, and just don't give up. Just don't give up. So. Yeah.
Yes, because they're the words you needed to hear then, isn't it? And like to know if your life can be transformed, anyone's life can be transformed. I just want everyone to know, don't write yourself off, because God has not written you off. And like you say, that it is just amazing that the transformation that God has done, and the hope, and we hold on to that hope, you know, and even with trials that, as in life, we're not immune on this side of eternity, we are not immune to trials, but we're so much more equipped to be able to deal with them with God and with the help that he gives us around. And as you know, I am, and I know you are too, I'm a big advocate of seeking that help, and whether that's from brothers and sisters in Christ who you trust with that, or you know, professional help too, which is something that we've both sought. And you know, and even things like you mentioned earlier, that you were in a place where you were able to come off of antidepressants, which is amazing. And that's part of your story. That also doesn't mean that's, you know, I take antidepressants and that's part of my story, that I'm still taking them. So yeah, it's just God can use it all.
100%.
And as well, like just, you know, to clarify, because I always just like to do this, that God doesn't cause these bad things to happen. God never would have caused any of these things to happen to you, but he will not waste them. He will take them and he will transform them to use them for good. And you probably could have thought, how could any of this be used for good? And yet you're living proof that it does, and it continues
100%.
to. Yeah.
100%.
Oh my gosh, it's been such a blessing to talk to you.
I've loved
to
it.
share your story.
Thank you.
I'd actually love, if it's okay, if you could pray for us. Just
of course.
I really want people to leave this episode being aware of that hope, you know, that's such a real hope. So if we could pray into that, I'd love that.
No problem.
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to close my eyes. Some people do, some people don't.
Yeah,
but, you know,
I
see what
won't
you
scare
can
you. I'll
do.
close my eyes.
That'll be a bit weird. You open your eyes, you're like this. All right, Kat, calm down.
I won't do that.
Thank you. Right, I'm gonna stop laughing now. This is what it was like in church all the time. We just couldn't sit next to each other because we like this. Oh dear. Okay. Oh, yeah, Lord, we want to thank you so much. We thank you for joy. We thank you, Lord, that joy has been released into our lives and been restored, Lord. And you know, there were so many years that I lived without joy. And I know that there will probably be people watching this podcast that they are living without joy. They're living without peace. They're living without hope. And Lord, I want to pray right now that you will release that to each and every person watching this. I want to bind every single lie and plan of the enemy that is trying to bring discouragement, that's trying to bring anything else that is not of you, Lord, that is trying to bring darkness into people's lives and make them believe that there is no way out other than death, or no way out other than drugs, or, you know, self-harm, or suicide or addiction. Lord, I want to break that off right now. I want to pray right now that you will fill everyone with an unexplainable peace. Lord, that's exactly what you promise in your word. It says, you know, we'll be filled with an unexplainable peace that goes beyond all understanding, peace that's better than any drug that you can take, peace that's better than anything of this world that can offer. So Lord, I thank you so much, Lord, that, you know, you are no respecter of person. If you can do it for one person, you will do it for a million people. So if anyone's watching this right now and says, oh, you know, but, you know, would God do it for me? Yes, he will. Because if you can do it for me, you can do it for anyone. So Father God, I pray right now every person would leave this podcast just feeling so loved, so inspired, and so in a place of wanting to receive hope for the next season of their life. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I loved that prayer. Thank you
My
so
God.
much.
You were just like that, and I was like, did I stop so soon? I don't know.
And I was like, I'm getting into this. I loved it. Thank you. I feel really blessed. Anyway, you've given me the giggles, but that's good because we're gonna leave everyone,
now.
you know, leave everyone with joy, I hope.
Hopefully.
And yes, and thank you so much, Tiffany,
No
for
worries,
being on this
anytime.
episode. And we're sending you all the love and all the hope in the world.
You.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope that it's been a blessing to you. And my prayer is that you will know there is so much hope for you. So hold on to that hope. I do have a list of resources in the description of this episode, so please do make use of this if you think it might be something that benefits you or someone that you know. Please do share it with them. Also, a note to say, I know that Tiffany shared some experiences where she was very sadly let down by some support systems, but that does not mean that we are not encouraging you to seek the right help. There are good people out there. If you have any questions or concerns about this, we'd be happy to talk to you, so please reach out to us via the contact details left in the description, and we will be praying for you. All that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to / watching this episode. I pray that you will know the hope of Christ to be evident in your own situation and your own life right now. And I would love if you could like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things, leave a review. That would really help me as I spread the word and spread the hope. So thank you so much for your support and for getting the word out there. I'll see you next Monday for another episode of Those Who Hope. Thank you, everyone. Bye.